Hi, good morning. Welcome to the webinar. I wanted to check if you could let me know, what grade your children are in, and if there are any particular questions that you have regarding the SAT program. Anahita, what could you let me know what grade are you in, or your child is in? Tanish, are they able to unmute themselves? Yeah. Anahita, please tell me.
I'm in grade 11.
You're in grade 11 and you're planning to take the SAT or the ACT this year?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a preference between the two?
Yeah, I'm taking the SAT, the
Oh,
digital
super.
SAT.
The digital SAT. When are you planning to
Yeah.
take it?
I'm taking it in March.
In March. Oh, March exam is
Oh,
already over.
sorry.
May.
Sorry, not March. Sorry, May. My bad.
May.
Sorry.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Great. So have you been practicing from any material and, some websites?
Yeah, I was using Khan Academy and I've been doing the Blue Book tests as well.
Super. They're great resources.
Yeah.
Khan Academy has very relevant question banks because these are the questions which have been prepared by the test makers themselves. But do keep in mind that the College Board questions are slightly easier than the actual exam. So I would recommend that you try a few more, slightly more difficult tests as well, so that you're well prepared if this particular version of the SAT turns out to be harder. Uh, some of the good resources that I would recommend could be, for math, I would say Barron's is a good resource. It's slightly on the harder side than the actual questions that you're going to see, but it gives you a good prep. Princeton Review is also pretty close. So if you're planning to use any of those resources, those are good as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And very important is, one of the things you should note is that taking more and more tests doesn't necessarily improve your score. What you do after a test is very important. So take a test so that you understand the timelines that you have to prepare for the exam. Time management is a integral part of doing well on the SAT. But the other more important things that tests throw up is data, giving you information about which are the topics that you're struggling with and how you can go back and revise those topics to make sure you're bridging any gaps. That's very important. So if you have your exam in May, I'm assuming you've done most of your prep and you're probably in the testing phase right now, right?
Yeah.
So I would say 80% of your time now should go towards analysis. Analyze your errors, understand exactly why you're making a mistake, bridge those gaps, practice to a point for those topics where you're not making that mistake anymore, and then come back to take a test to see if you're headed in the right direction. Of course, if you're struggling with time management, then yes, taking more tests helps you. But keep your focus on the corrections. That's the key to being a winner there. All right.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we are okay to start the webinar now. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in on a Sunday morning. My name is Guneet, and today we are going to be talking about the SAT and the ACT exams. The idea here is to understand, a high school student's journey from 9th to 12th and how these exams fit into your academic path. And in this webinar, you will learn the main things that you as students and parents need to plan and prepare during the college admissions journey. We'll also do a little bit of a deep dive into these two exams, the SAT and the ACT. And we'll show you how we at Revisor can help you with the tools that we all have built. Revisor is a high school learning support company. We assist students worldwide. We help them achieve their academic goals, and we work with students as early as grade 8 and work with them all the way up until grade 12. And we largely help them in two main areas. First one is test prep, where we help or coach them for SATs, ACTs, APs, IELTS, etc. And the second area is academic tutoring, where we provide coaching for students in the Cambridge, which is the IGCSE AS and 11s, and the IB, basic subject tutoring, right? We've been in this space for more than 8 years now. We've worked with more than 5,000 plus families. We have students from, 8 plus countries. We have offices, we are headquartered out of Bangalore, but we are completely an online company. All right. So let's try and understand and, the students and undergraduate students, college admissions abroad versus India. Why do the students even need to take the SAT or the ACT at all? So the US school system is very similar to our state board or the PU system that we have in India. They have a core curriculum that is defined by the education board. Each state can choose how they conduct the curriculum. So what happens is this results in varying levels of expertise in each subject, making it very difficult for universities to judge a student's caliber. So they don't have a standardized national curriculum like we do in India. Like, we have the CBSE and ICSE where everyone writes the same paper. So when we say 98% in CBSE math, every college knows what that means, right? So hence the universities in the US needed to even the playing field. They collaborated with two companies, namely the College Board, which conducts the SAT, and ACT.org, which conducts the ACT, right? Now, these companies designed two tests where students are assessed in English and mathematics. This, in turn, helps the universities assess a student's ability to take on college-level courses. So how well you score on these tests will help the universities decide which courses are you eligible for. In India, we have very clear cutoff scores. So, if you get 99.9% in your 12th, you get into SRCC. If you get less than that, you don't get in. There are no clear cutoff scores in the US, but you will find that there are indicative scores for various courses in specific universities. So, for example, if you're planning to do engineering in Georgia Tech, you will need a certain SAT or an ACT score. But for another course within Georgia Tech, you may require a different SAT score, right? So it's very specific to each university, and within universities also, sometimes there is a specification for each course. Like, for example, if you were to look at a design course, they're more interested in your portfolio. But there are some universities that will ask you to have a basic SAT score like 1200, 1300, so that you understand enough English and you're able to understand, because English is the medium of instruction there. So those kind of, and scores will vary. Whereas if you're trying to get into a very competitive university, in certain places, a score of 1540 also may be considered low. So it completely depends on the university and the courses that you're applying to. So when colleges and universities are reviewing your application for admissions, they generally look at four main areas. First and foremost, and the most important one, is your academics, your school academics. Foreign colleges and universities are interested in your overall academic performance. Whereas in India, colleges are mainly interested in your 12th grade final board exam result, right? International colleges will look at your grades starting from grade 9. So 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, your transcripts will need to go in. Of course, your predicted score as well will be going in from your school. So they will be looking at your academics across 4 years. So this means you need to start focusing early on your academics because the colleges want to see how you've grown over these years. All right. Another important aspect is your standardized test scores, which basically means if you're in India, we have competitive exams depending on the field that you're interested in. So for example, if you're planning to study engineering, you will attempt the JEE. If you're planning to take medicine, you'll write NEET. For law, there is CLAT. That's how it works in India. But outside of India, it's slightly different. They've got this one standardized test, the SAT or the ACT, and you don't need to take both. You can choose either one. So you don't have to, so whether you're planning to study economics or finance or engineering, medicine, biochemistry, you're still taking that one exam, right? The other thing that they really pay attention to is your profile. What do we mean by profile? It's basically how you show the college who you are as a person and what major area of study are you really interested in pursuing. So let's say you're keen on computer science as a major. You need to showcase to the university what have you done in computer science other than what was taught to you in school, right? And there are many ways of doing this, right? You could have and there isn't a specific checklist that, okay, if I do these 10 things, I can showcase my interest. No, they want to know your interest in computer science. How has it affected your community? How much have you pushed yourself beyond what you're doing in school? And sometimes students will build an app to solve a problem in their community. I know of students who have there's an issue with maybe the house help that comes into your community. There are students who've built apps to kind of track attendance or to say that you have these facilities available. So it has to be relevant to what you're doing, which is probably solving a problem in your environment, and how has it benefited your environment, your major area of study. All of it needs to tie up. It's not really a simple checklist. The fourth aspect that the college applications is, of course, the application itself, right? There are various things that you'll be doing to write your application. There are numerous essays, you're obtaining letters of recommendations, shortlisting, your universities, a lot of other stuff goes on. But the most important out of this is your application essay. Beyond test scores and grades and data that you're sending them, an essay provides a window into your personality. What are your passions? What are your aspirations? They've given you a platform here to share your experiences, your challenges, your goals, and how this has shaped your unique identity. Essays also humanize your application, right? They do demonstrate your potential contribution to the campus community. So I would recommend that you invest time and effort in writing these compelling narratives who authentically reflect who you are. All right. So so these are the four things that you need to, this is the four main things that will make up your applications. One of them being, of course, the standardized tests. Now, let's have a look at the timeline. Also, I think before I get into the timeline, I would like to, help you understand, the SAT exam, of course, happens many times a year, right? You need to understand what can you start doing starting grade 9. I mean, see, the SAT English, for example, has a very comprehensive reading list. Now, if you are an avid reader, you debate, you mull, you set a good base for yourself to do well on the SAT. I don't think you need to do these things to do well on the SAT. You should be doing these things in any case. But if you have to take this exam, for English specifically, there has to be a very strong base. If you have done this already, then you have set yourself up for success for the SAT. If you have not, if you're in grade 9, one of the things that you could start doing is start reading. If you don't think you can read a novel or do any heavy reading, start reading shorter articles. But read in a way with critical thinking, ask questions, understand why an author has written a piece. Now, what can you start doing as early as grade 9? So the College Board has a PSAT exam, and we will talk about that as well. You could take your PSATs as early as grade 9 or 10. This gives you an idea about what is the test, what are you likely to be doing, in your SAT. So it gives you time to put in the base that is required to do well on the SAT exam. Grade 10, you could actually, write a SAT diagnostic test. So you have an idea about what you need to do. You could potentially start your English SAT prep. You can finish it in grade 10 itself. You're dividing your English and math prep across 10th and 11th. That goes very well as well. Write the PSAT. You could also start with some manageable APs if you're planning to write your AP. So manageable APs, like if you're interested in economics, you could do economics, macroeconomics. If you're interested in psychology, you could perhaps write your AP psychology or any skill-based AP. So if you are interested in coding and if you've already been doing a bit of coding, you could write computer science A exam. So but I would not recommend that you write your calculus BC at this point, because those are very specific to what you're going to be studying in grade 10 and 11 as well. In grade 11 is very heavy on test prep. You should write your SATs. For US citizens, there is an exam called the PSAT NMSQT, which you should write in the October of grade 11. That gives you an additional scholarship, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. Ideally, very few students get their potential SAT score on the first attempt. So you usually should plan for 2 attempts, but try and finish both attempts in grade 11. That's the best case scenario. Again, you'll be writing your APs in grade 11 at the end of grade 11 as well. Grade 12, for those of you who have not finished writing your second attempt of APs, you could take your AP in grade 12 as well. But largely, we would say this is very heavy on applications and college essays. So try and finish your SAT prep before then if you can, if you have the time. All right. Of course, grade 12 midterms are very important. So you will have to put some time towards academics as well. At the end of grade 12, of course, you head out for freshman year in college. Now, the test, like I mentioned, happens 7 times a year. We have the next test scheduled for May. We've just had one in March. Then you have one in June, August. They've added a new exam for September this year, October, November, and December. So you have plenty of choice as to when you need to do your SAT or your ACT. You should plan your exams based on your school calendar and the targets that you have. I mean, I don't think there should be too much of an overlap. So if you have midterm exams in October, I would not recommend that you do the September or the October exam. Even November will be maybe too close. Maybe look at the December exam. So plan your schedule well so that you get the most out of these exams. While you're permitted to take the exam multiple times, like I mentioned, it is generally advisable to take 2 attempts. Even for the 3rd attempt, we don't recommend too much because, then colleges will start wondering why you're spending so much time on one test. Colleges have various varying preferences when it comes to standardized test scores. Some universities will require the applicants to submit all their SAT scores. So that means if you've written the SAT 3 times, you might need to send in all 3 scores. So don't take it just to see if you're ready. There are free tests on College Board. You can take one of those tests to see if you're ready or not. You don't have to take an actual SAT score. See, we don't want to put any question mark in your application which creates doubt. All right. Applications, college admissions now is very competitive. So you have to be careful about what you're doing. There are some universities which are test optional. This means that the students can choose to submit their test scores if they feel it strengthens their application, but they're not required to do so. Test optional policies came into play during the pandemic when tests could not be conducted everywhere easily. It used to be a pen and paper test at that time. Post that, they have gone digital now. But then you also have test blind universities where the tests such as the ACT and the SAT are not considered in the admission process at all. So that means your test scores will not influence the decision-making process for admissions. Universities like the UCs are test blind. Some universities mandate that you take the SAT or the ACT. They will not accept your application without a test score. And these are the more competitive universities like MIT, Yale, Georgia Tech, Dartmouth, Brown, Harvard. They have all chosen to become test mandatory. All right. Now, the decision to take this exam depends on the policies of the universities that you're applying to. If you don't have a final college list prepared already, it might be a good idea to go ahead and take the SAT or ACT, because if you try and take it last minute, you may not be able to achieve your potential score. Moreover, as an Indian student or as an international student applying to a university abroad, it's always best that you give them the most data points that you can give them, especially if you're giving them a data point of their geography. So they have a standardized test of their geography. And if you take that test and you do well, that definitely boosts your application, right? Another aspect to note is that the acceptance of the SAT and ACT digital test scores extends beyond the United States. There are several other countries, including Singapore, Canada, Australia, even India, that recognize and accept the SAT scores, right? Now let's look at the structure of the exam. We'll start with the SAT. The SAT is a digital exam. You have the flexibility to use your own device. You can bring your own laptop with the necessary software installed. The College Board conducts the test on an app called the Blue Book app. Nahita and I were just talking about this a little while back. You need to install this from the College Board website onto your computer, and you can attempt the test on your own laptop. But you do need to go to a center to take the exam, right? And the digital interface is very friendly. You know, they have a clock for time management. You can easily navigate between questions. You can access all your math formulas in one place. And the SAT exam is notably shorter than the ACT exam. It lasts for about 2 hours and 14 minutes, the SAT exam. Now let's break down the exam structure. There are 2 sections, English and math. Right? Now, in English section, there are 2 modules. Each module has 27 questions each. So you'll be answering a total of 54 questions. You'll have 32 minutes per module. So you have 64 minutes to answer 54 questions, giving you approximately 1.19 minutes per question. Again, it's a slightly crucial number. We'll discuss this when we are comparing it to the ACT. For math also, there are 2 modules. Each module has 22 questions, and each module gives you about 35 minutes to complete these 22 questions. So you're answering a total of 44 questions in 70 minutes to complete the math section. Here you have 1.59 minutes per question. Scores will range between 200 to 800 per section. So English has a score out of 200 and 400. Math also has the same. So your overall composite score will be anything between 400 and 1600. Typically, aiming for a score of about 1500 is advisable for those students who are targeting a score, targeting top universities, because this typically corresponds to the 99th percentile. All right, let's see what's going to be tested. In the SAT reading and writing section, your comprehension, language use, and writing skills are going to be put to test. You'll come across varying academic and literary passages, and you'll be answering questions for the universities to gauge your understanding. The test segment includes craft and structure, which focuses on vocabulary and text evaluation. You have craft and you have information and ideas, where you interpret various texts and infographics as well. You have expression of ideas, which you'll be refining written expression, and of course you have standard English conventions, which is the basic rules of English grammar, usage, punctuation, right? In the math section, the content can be broadly categorized into 4 main areas. Algebra basically has linear equations, inequalities, system of equations, and problem-solving techniques. You have problem-solving and data analysis, which covers topics related to data interpretation, ratios, rates, proportions, etc. Advanced math includes quadratic and exponential equations, and geometry and trigonometry focuses on concepts such as concepts on areas, such as area, volume, lines, angles, triangles, and trigonometric functions. Now, in the SAT, the English is completely multiple choice, right? In the math section, about 75% questions are multiple choice. The remaining 25%, the student has to come up with an answer, and you input that into the computer. And the SAT and ACT math differs slightly. Here, if you see, there's only 5 to 7 geometry questions, right? Making up total 10 to 15% of the total portions. ACT is slightly different, and we'll talk about that as well. Another thing that you need to know about is that the SAT is section adaptive. Now, what do we mean by section adaptive? Now, in each section, if you remember, there were 2 modules, right? So English had module 1 and module 2, so did math. So everyone gets the same level of difficulty of module 1. How well you do on module 1 shows you determines which version of module 2 do you get. And I'm going to take a few random numbers. Of course, College Board does not disclose the algorithm. Say you do really well on module 1, you score say 16 out of 20. Now you will get a version of module 2, which is more difficult, more challenging, but that is good. because it is potentially leading you to a higher score range. So you have the possibility of scoring between 680 and 800, right? Now, on the other hand, if you don't score well on module 2, say you get only 9 out of 20, you will get a less challenging version of module 2, but it also limits your score range. So you can get perhaps only between 440 and 560. So even if you get all the questions correct in module 2, you cannot score above 560. Therefore, doing well on module 1 is crucial for maximizing your overall score. Here are some of the universities that do accept the SAT scores for India. Okay, now what are the PSATs, right? We spoke about this earlier also. Now the PSAT is a preliminary SAT or a slightly simpler version of the SAT exam. It's conducted once a year. Now in India, they have added another March-April attempt. So it is now conducted in India 2 times a year, in the month of March, April, or in the month of October, November. Now, if your school doesn't offer it, you can see which school in your city offers the PSAT, and you can register there as a candidate. The next question is, should you even be writing it? Is it even required? So students opt to take the PSAT for many different reasons. Some will do it because certain summer school programs will require your PSAT score for admissions. Others will take it to assess their current global standing in preparation. How prepped are they right now? Usually, we would recommend that you take the PSAT while you're in grade 9 and 10. They have a PSAT 8 also. So you can take it in 8. They have PSAT 8, 9, and they have PSAT 10. Because it helps you understand what do you need to deliver at the end of grade 10, right? Now, if you feel that your child or, you're not being, it kind of helps you jumpstart your prep. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, reading is a very important component of doing well on the SAT. If you take the PSAT in 8, 9, the student understands what do you need to deliver at the end of grade 10. You can start with a reading program, or you can set a good schedule for reading or debating, knowing that how this is going to help you in your college admissions. You have the 2 years or 3 years to build up those skills. If you're taking your SAT exam for the first time at the end of grade 11, and most students who are doing that will realize that they're struggling with the English component, your score does not go up in the English, despite whatever training you're taking. If you don't have a solid base, it's difficult for you to get that score, which can be frustrating. So taking the PSAT helps you in that way. Students who are US citizens, for them, taking the PSAT NMSQT, which happens in the month of October in their grade 11. When you're in your grade 11, you should take the PSAT NMSQT that happens in the month of October, because it gives you an additional scholarship. Now, the test itself does not give you a scholarship. It's a qualifying test. It's the National Merit qualifying test for the US citizens. It helps you go to the next level, and that's an additional scholarship that you could possibly be getting in addition to whatever you're getting from your colleges, right? Now let's talk about the ACT. ACT, you will have a total of 5 sections: English, math, reading, science, and an optional essay component. Now, the English section allows you 45 minutes for 75 questions. Now, if you realize here, the time difference between English and the time that you got towards for the SAT is very different. Here you've got 45 minutes, you're solving 75 questions. Math gives you 60 minutes for 60 questions. Reading and science each you have 40 questions to be completed in 35 minutes. Scores for the 4 main sections range from 1 to 36. And you will get an average, which determines your final composite score between 1 and 36 again. The optional essay is scored separately on a scale of 2 to 12, and it's not part of the total 1 to 36 score. Now, if we talk about the timelines here. So in English, what is being tested? Again, basic grammar and usage of the English language. But if you look at the timeline here, right? the SAT gives you 1.19 minutes per question. But here you get less than 35 to 40 seconds, right? Again, math section, the thing you need to know is the difference in the way they have divided the content. So SAT had only 10 to 15% of geometry. Here, about 40 to 45% is geometry, and the rest is algebra based. So that is one point of comparison that you will have. Reading section, of course, the timelines are very similar, but the format is very different. For the reading section, in English, you questions. So your reading and animating skills are very important here as well. So it depends on what your skill set is and how you want to kind of go about that. Science, again, they're not really testing your knowledge of science. It's largely a reading section, but the passages are going to be science based. So you will have passages from, you might find physics, biochemistry related passages. But it's largely reading comprehension. Whatever you need to answer the questions is pretty much within the passages. You will see more data, tables, graphs in this section, right? But you don't need to be a science student to do well on the science section. They're not really testing your knowledge of science as such, right? Choosing between the SAT and the ACT can be a bit daunting, but there are factors that you can help you make that decision. SAT, firstly, you should understand your own strengths and weaknesses. The SAT tends to focus more on reasoning and critical thinking skills. The ACT is not easier in that sense, but they are far more direct in their style of questioning. So, it's not that complex. If you look at the questions itself, the math question on the SAT itself is 4 lines, whereas the math question on the ACT is about 1.5 lines, right? So it's reasonably more straightforward, but they've got you on time, right? You have to do many more questions in a much shorter given frame of time. So it depends completely on who are you as a student. So also think about the timing. The SAT gives you more time per question, which can be beneficial if you need extra time to think through your problems. On the other hand, ACT is faster paced, more questions, less time. So if you're good at working quickly and efficiently, ACT might suit you. If you find math difficult, it's better to take the ACT, right? On the SAT, math is 50% of the portions. Whereas on the SAT, if you look at it, it's one of 4 sections, so it's only 25%, right? That can be a criteria. Again, how long can you sit and focus for? If you look at the digital SAT, it's 2 hours, 15 minutes. But if you look at the SAT, it's 3 hours. If you look at the ACT, it's 3 hours plus the 40-minute essay if you want to write that. So 2 hours, 15 minutes versus 3 hours plus 40 minutes. So that can be a consideration as well. Evaluate which format plays best to your strengths and preferences. It's best to take a diagnostic test for both exams to see which one feels more comfortable and gets you the better result. Ultimately, the best test for you is the one that allows you to showcase your abilities effectively. Please note, within the US, there is no preference between the SAT and the ACT. Colleges will look at both tests equally. So it's all about which test can you get a higher score on. Following this webinar, you will receive an email containing a registration link for the free diagnostic tests. This will be a DSAT, a digital SAT link, and an ACT link. Please take your tests as per your convenience, and you can assess your current standing and determine which test is suited for you. These are full-length tests because we want you to understand what does it feel like when you've been sitting down and focusing for 2.5 hours and you're trying to get accuracy, trying to get a high score. All right. These are not those 30-minute kind of weird assessments. No, that's not what you need to see. If you want, you can book a one-on-one consultation with us. We'll be happy to take you through the report and help you decide which test is better suited for you. This is a free consultation that we do just to help you decide which one you think is better. Right. Now let's talk a little bit about our pedagogy. right? We have we've divided our program into four main phases. We start with the diagnostic test to see which exam is suitable for you. This will ensure that we are focusing on a test where your chances of success are the highest. In phase one, we have online live tutoring sessions, approximately 35 to 40 hours for English and math. Each student, each session lasts for about 2 hours, followed by assignments. And these sessions can be conducted either in group or one-on-one. Phase two is when you start your section tests. So each student is assigned a dedicated program coordinator or a mentor who conducts online meetings to assess the areas of strength and weaknesses. Based on this assessment, the mentor then designs a personalized plan to address the student's needs. If required, you're directed back to classes or remedials are put into place. Sometimes even extra one-on-one sessions with the faculty are put into place. In phase three, students focus on full-length practice tests, completing at least 10 to 15 mock exams before before they go for their final attempt. And the mentor continues to monitor progress and adjusts the plan accordingly to make sure that improvement is happening. All these phases take place on a digital SAT platform where students have access to comprehensive practice materials and experience the same style of questioning as in the actual SAT. Again, our program offers various modules to cater for different needs. We have on one end, we will have full SAT or ACT training programs, which can be done, like I'd mentioned, one-on-one or individual or batches. Or if a student requires only English or math programs, these are also available. So, if a student does a diagnostic test and you're getting a 750 kind of a score, we are not going to recommend SAT math training for you. I would rather recommend a book that you can order from Amazon, do your practices. If required, you can take on 1 or 2 hours separately. And if you're not getting the English score, you can focus purely on English, or vice versa. If you're struggling with maths, then take on the math course, but don't take on the English course, right? For some accelerated students, we also have a self-paced program. Basically, it provides you lesson videos, self-paced exercises, mock tests. It basically gives you a comprehensive checklist to make sure that you haven't missed any aspect of the test. We also have programs where a student can do only mock tests on a digital platform. So you're not, so we provide kind of customized options to suit individual requirements. We also have a program called the Base Builder. And like I was mentioning, you need to set a good base to be able to do well on the SAT. Ideal is if a parent has the time, I would say start reading articles together. Discuss beyond the article. What is the author saying? Why has he said this? If he says this, what does he really mean? What can we infer from it? Right? All of that discussion is very important. Now, if you have the time, I would say do that. Ideal is read an article a day. Discuss it over a dinner table. If you don't have the time to do that, we have started a Base Builder program, which can start as early as grade 8. A student can sign up for this. It's designed for students to set the base so that when they start their SAT training, they can do well. If you read, how do you read? Right? There is no shortcut to not reading. Just by doing the Base Builder, you can't say, okay, now I don't need to read. You still need to read. The program teaches you how to read. What are the things you should look for in an article? And the aim of this is to promote critical thinking. So we've divided the program into 3 main sets. So first, of course, vocabulary is something that you need to build on. The SAT is not testing your vocabulary as the previous other exams do. There aren't 3,000 words that you can just mug up and do well. No. Here you will get words in context. You will have words with multiple meanings, and sometimes as simple as the word table. But the word table has 16 different meanings to it. It's the usage of the word. So we teach students, so we'll take up a few words and we'll ask them that when they're reading articles, how do they need to address vocabulary? Certain skills are being taught here. We also read an article in this program together. We read an article in class and we discuss that article. The faculties, these are trained SAT faculties who take the students through this program. So they will read an article, a short article in class, and they will discuss, afterwards, for the students to understand that everyone's takeaway from the same article can be very different. We teach them to question another person's opinion. what do they think, why do they feel like this, and why do they feel this is what the author is trying to say, and we evaluate each other's opinions. So the discussion after reading the article is very important, which is what happens here. And of course we do a little bit of grammar. Like I mentioned, this reading and writing, there are certain language use and skills which are being which are being assessed here. Low hanging fruit, this is pretty much like math, there is only one correct answer, so making sure that a student has done basic grammar and is ready to bring those scores in at least. Some of our top scores, for SAT and APs as well. This is what some of our top scorers have to say. All right. Please, at this point of time, you feel free to ask any questions that you have at this point. We've covered the basic points, but I'm happy to go through any questions that you have. I'll start reading the questions which are there in the chat box. If there are any questions. Okay, somebody would like to see a slide of the colleges that accept SAT in India. Okay, I think we had this previously. Let me just round back to that. So there are multiple colleges, especially the liberal art colleges, that do accept SAT scores. Can we get a link to see this recording again later? Yes, we have a form here on our chat box. If you can fill up that form and let us know exactly what you need, and then we'll be more than happy to take you, to send you the links that you require. Is the ACT compulsory as well as for science majors? No, actually it's not. There is no compulsion when it comes to taking either the SAT or ACT, not at all. See, the way you can showcase your strength for certain subjects, for certain science subjects, is by doing APs in that subject. So APs is a college level course which you can take in your 11th grade itself. So if you're planning to send that, we do webinars on APs as well. So if you want a link, please fill out the form and send it to us. We'll send you some of our AP webinar links. ACT has no preference if you're doing science or if you're doing taking non-science subjects. Universities do not differentiate at all between the SAT or the ACT, at least for now. Also, the ACT, just to keep you informed, the ACT is changing its format from this September onwards. So if you're planning to take your ACTs before September, that is great. But if you're planning to take it after September, I would recommend that you wait for 1 or 2 tries and then take it, because the format has changed completely now. And it's going to be a little different. My child is in IGCSE 10th. Is it already too late? No, of course not. See, the best time, I've also mentioned the ideal timeline. So, see, there's a lot that happens in this time from 9th to 12th, right? Try and see, academics, okay, if you talk about academics really jump up in grade 11. Up until grade 10, academics are very easy, very basic. The rubber really hits the road in grade 11. So academics takes a huge jump, irrespective of the curriculum. CBSE, ICSE, AS&A levels, IB, 10th is where it jumps, goes crazy. So there's a lot of burden on the student. So that's one place. So academics is going to be high. There's going to be a lot of college application research that's going to start. If you're taking APs, you're going to be taking APs as well in grade 11. So the students' plate is quite full in grade 11. So the best is to break it. You can finish the English portions before if you want to, but you do need 10th grade level math to take on the SAT. The SAT builds on 10th grade level math. So if you have time, finish your English prep in grade 10. And the summer vacations of grade 10 is the best time to do your SAT prep before you start your studies for grade 11. If you can finish 90% of your prep in the summer vacations, it's the best. We offer comprehensive programs for the SAT prep within the 10th grade summer vacations. So you could, if you've not done your SAT prep now, in the summer vacation of grade 10, I would recommend you finish 70-80% or preferably 90% of your prep, so that when the student heads into grade 11, we don't want to put this burden on them there. Of course, 80% of students don't have this information, and they start their SAT prep only in grade 11 when they hear about this in the orientation, which is one of the reasons why we have these webinars for a parent to understand how we can, spread the load. Can we have access to this video recording? Yes, please fill out the form, Abdul, and I will make sure that someone shares the program with you. Hi, Dr. Deepa. What support will you provide if the first test score is low? Do we have to repeat the curriculum? All right. So at Reviser, this program was designed by me as a parent. Now, what happens here is, my kids went through the same rigmarole of doing the entire SAT prep, and there are 40 hours of classes. What happens next? The student has to put in 200 to 300 hours, right? Who is monitoring that? Where does that happen? That's what Reviser does. So we have a program coordinator who works throughout, and we will support you for a year, right, within the same course fee. So or for 2 attempts, whatever happens, but that's not very rigid. You can just buy a supplemental fee. At a supplemental, very small minimal fee, you'll have access for much longer. We do provide full support. So if you've signed up, if you want to, and sometimes your question is very valid, there's a 6-month gap between the two exams. What do we do then? So we have multiple classes. We, on a loop, there are online classes which are going on. A student can reattend the classes as many times as they want. There is no cap on that. On the batch classes, one-on-one time with the faculty, of course, comes at a premium, but we will support you for that period, second try, third attempt, whatever it is. Reviser is here to support you. It's not that, you do one and within 6 months you have to finish off. No, if you've signed up for a very customized program, it's different. But a regular program, a regular hybrid program will support you for your 2 attempts. It's valid for a year. You can choose to take it even after a year if you want to. Those things are there. Absolutely, we will support you in that. Do you have AP coaching? Which all APs we should go for if planning to go for a business analyst? Best to discuss this with your college counselor. We do have AP trainings, and we train in almost 18 to 19 subjects, if not more. Which APs for business analysts? Again, for me, this would be secondhand information. We are a coaching company. We don't do college counseling. If you want to speak with a college counselor, please fill out the form, and do let us know what if you want to speak with a college counselor to see specific. But for business, math is a bare minimum. What will help? If you're taking any APs for math, you have pre-calculus, calculus AB, calculus BC. You could also do something in eco, which will also be a plus for business analysts. What is essay writing? Do you help in this preparation? So are you talking about the ACT essay writing, or are you talking about college applications? So Ria, we don't do college applications. We will not help you with college essay writing. But if you're looking for the ACT essay writing, yes, we do help with that. Is there any advantage to take ICSE over CBSE in 11th? No, there is no specific advantage for colleges. Most colleges know very well about the CBSE and ICSE systems. I have not heard of any advantage in college admissions. They understand our curriculums pretty well, the colleges. So there is no preference in that. You can also unmute yourself and ask any questions that you have. APs, another thing that I would like to mention is that the APs happen in the month of May, right? For those of you who are doing IB or A levels, it might clash with your final exams. So make sure you plan well in advance, and you finish your prep and you finish your training for your APs completely, so that it doesn't clash with because you may not be able to put in the time closer to the exams. And we start our programs as early as September, October. We also have summer programs for APs, one-on-one. So definitely. Yeah, Dynam, I believe you want to say something. Please go ahead.
Yes, so I just finished my 10th. I'm continuing AS&A levels. And right now in my summer vacation, do you recommend taking 1 or 2 APs which are not like that hard? So some
Absolutely.
easier APs.
Absolutely. So what are the APs that you're interested in? What subjects are you interested in taking?
So I plan on doing something in math or CS. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm really good with numbers and data. So I'm thinking of doing something like data science or something.
Super. Then definitely, I think taking up, um, you've just finished math, so I would not say calculus ABBC. You could do pre-calculus. If you're
I
interested in
was
computer
thinking of
science,
doing stats, AP statistics, if
absolutely, you can. See, most of the subjects, if you realize, will require only about 40 to 50 hours of classroom training. And since you have holidays now, you can put in that time, right? Taking up
yeah.
economics, macro, microeconomics, or taking up AP psychology, which is very important for data science as well, is a good kind of APs to take. And again, they are not specific to what you're studying in school. So if you have an interest, definitely these are the
Okay.
APs that you could be doing.
Thank
So
you.
classroom training is not more than 40, 50 hours, but you need to put in a lot of time. See, APs have two types of questions. You will have multiple choice, which are basically testing your knowledge, and then you have free response questions, which are more essay type questions that you write for school, right?
Yeah.
So definitely those will require some amount of practice. So I would recommend that you
Okay.
go ahead and yes, a lot of ICSE, CBSE students only prep during this time because you have a lot of time at hand. So you can definitely prep for that. And if you want, you can set up for ask for a one-on-one free consultation. We can also have you speak with someone who can help you with this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So can you take more than one AP exam for the same subject, not in the same year? Depends on the APs you're applying for. So physics, for example, has 4 APs and you can write all 4 in the same year. Maths has 3, pre-calculus, calculus AB, calculus BC. Now you can take pre-calculus with a combination of, say, either calculus AB or BC in that year. You can't take calculus AB and BC in the same year, right? So you have to wait for another year to take it. I hope I answered that question. Dr. Deepa, what do we do for college counseling and applications? Do you have any affiliates? Yes, absolutely, we do. We have affiliates. If you can just fill out the form, and we can then take you. You can fill out the form, and we can take you through the details. If you want to find, where can we find the AP list? You want to know the AP exams that College Board conducts, or the AP exams that we train for? I can send you a link for all the College Board AP exams in India, and where are they happening. But the thing to note here is that the AP registrations, I think, are closed now. I don't think they might be open now because the registrations usually open in the month of September and they finish in the month of November. There is a late registration date that usually goes from January to March. So the first thing is to check if the registrations are even open right now. And if you drop us a message on the form, I can help find out for which AP you're looking at and where are the admissions still open, if at all. I can send you a link where you'll be able to see all the AP exams. Ria, College Board will have a link where I can take you, I can send you that link. Just fill out the form which is there in our chat box. It's Disha has put in a form there. Please fill it out and we'll send you after by the end of today, or after this webinar, I can send you the link as to how many exams are there for every subject. Yeah, Neetu, please go ahead with your question.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to confirm, like few colleges don't require SAT or ACT. So instead of focusing on that, is it better to focus on the AP part and essay part?
Absolutely. If you already know that the colleges that you're applying to then you're not applying to the colleges which are asking for a SAT score, then absolutely you don't have to take it. It's a 200, 300 hour prep. You should see whether the student can put in that kind of time. The only issue is wherever it is optional, we usually recommend international students, see, we are going into their domain. If the more data points we give them of their domain, the more it boosts our application. But if you are applying to, say, test blind universities, if your college list is where they're not even going to look at it, then they don't need to. But wherever it is optional, don't take the easier option. See, colleges are always looking for students who are taking on a more rigorous workload. To them, it shows that this student is ready for a college course, right? You want to take more of that. Why do you need profile building? Why do you need to do beyond what school is teaching you? Because if you're applying to those competitive colleges, of course, if you're applying to test blind universities, you don't need to take it at all. It's not even mandatory. If you're applying to test optional colleges, it's recommended. The more you show them that I've taken a more difficult path and then you've done it, it's only from that aspect. Do you have to take it? No, you don't have to take it. I hope I answered that. Was that Neetu, is it? Otherwise, Neetu Desai has raised hand, also wants to ask a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Neetu here. So I am basically a homeschooling parent, and
Okay.
my son is going to appear for his grade 10 next year.
Okay.
So I was wondering, what would you advise for him? Because he is prone towards a lot of space-related stuff. He's good at maths and physics. He really loves it. So do you recommend anything for him?
So I would recommend, I think first thing that I would recommend is speak to a college counselor, college admissions counselor. We are not college counselors, right? So to know how different subjects link up with different courses in the US, how various universities view these courses are very important, right? It has to be a more comprehensive plan. It's not, see, right now it's very subjective, whatever information I can give you. If he's interested in space and this thing, what are the things he could do? Speak with a college counselor so that they can help you build that journey. That what are the colleges looking at when they're looking at your application? Will this subject have any value? Or there are some subjects which are considered easier. There are some subjects which are considered harder. Definitely, I think a lot of discussion needs to be done on those parameters, understanding what can your child do to help build a journey in a space and aeronautics field, if that's what his interest is. It has to be worked backwards rather than going forward. And if you want the links, please fill out the form. I will send you. There are many counselors who will be more than happy to have a conversation free with you. There are some counselors who might want to have a paid consultation, but you don't need to sign up for college counseling, 2-3 lakhs. They will do a paid counseling and be able to give you relevant advice as well. So we'll send you a couple of names where you can speak with them and build a comprehensive plan. I would not say do it randomly. But my one advice is that whatever you do, definitely at this stage, academics holds a lot of water. If your academics are not in place, you could be getting a 1600 on the SAT. Nobody's looking at it, right? Your academics have to be good, but what subjects you take up, I would say build the entire plan.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Welcome. Any other questions? Great. Then thank you so much for joining in and being an engaging audience. If you have any questions, please fill out this form. We'll be more than happy to have a one-on-one consultation for you. There are no charges here. We are more than happy to speak with you and help you with your SAT prep, or like I had mentioned, academic prep. We do tutor for subjects for IGCSE, ASA and IB. Feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.